Hey everybody, it's Taco. It's Friday. It's week 2 of the college football season. The Pac-12 already off to a good start in week 2. Arizona State beat up on Sacramento State on Thursday night, 55 to nothing. Taylor Kelly threw for 5 touchdown passes, and they did what you're supposed to do against an FCS opponent, and that's dominate them on both sides of the ball. Season 2 of the Todd Graham era off to a good start. I'm kind of okay with the fact that they're not on Oregon's schedule this year. I don't need to play them for any reason, except if it's in the Pac-12 title game, which it could be. Oregon takes on Virginia on Saturday afternoon. Here are the matchups that I am looking for. First, I'm looking at Oregon's front seven against the run game of Virginia. Virginia seems committed to trying to establish a run game, trying to run the ball and control the clock. To put this in perspective, Oregon against Nicholls State ran the ball 45 times. Against BYU, in a close game, Virginia ran the ball 42 times. The difference is Oregon was playing a terrible, terrible Nicholls State team and averaged over 10 yards a carry. Virginia was playing a good to very good BYU defense, averaged under 3 yards a carry. But they were still trying to establish that run with over 40 carries in the game. Did the weather have something to do with it? It was nasty and rainy and lightningy and thundery out there? Perhaps. But it'll be interesting to see whether Virginia tries to keep the ball out of Oregon's offense's hands by running the ball a bunch and trying to control the line of scrimmage. Virginia's offensive line, not particularly good. I think Oregon's defensive front four can handle that offensive line, start to push them in the backfield, start to move that line of scrimmage, and gain the advantage in the run game that way. However, I think that Oregon's front seven has some work to do, especially in the middle with those new inside linebackers that Oregon is breaking in. So if Virginia can establish some sort of run game, that'll go a long way into keeping Virginia into the ball game, letting them hang around longer, which is not what Oregon wants on the road. Next, we're going to be looking at Oregon's tempo against the defensive line of Virginia, which is quite thin. Virginia's D-line, they're really only going to rotate 5, maybe 6 guys, which isn't many. To contrast that, Oregon rotates 8 or 9, even 10 guys sometimes on the defensive line throughout the course of a game. 5 or 6 isn't a lot, especially when you're facing a fast-paced team like the Ducks. BYU runs a fast offense. However, it was a really sloppy game last week. The weather had a lot to do with that. There wasn't a whole lot of offense, and there was a 2-hour lightning delay in the middle of the game. Does that fatigue, which started to set in as BYU really started to move the ball in the fourth quarter till that late interception, will that fatigue for Virginia's defensive line, can they hold out until the fourth quarter again if there's no rain and if there's an offense that is clicking from the first series? Probably not. This is probably a D-line that's going to get tired early, and then that's when Oregon attacks. So that's something I'm going to be watching out for. The longer Virginia's defensive front can hang on with their conditioning, the better off Virginia's going to be, and the longer they can hang in this game again. The last thing is I'm going to look at Virginia's passing game against Oregon's secondary. There are actually a lot of weapons that quarterback David Watford has to throw to. Last week, not a very impressive game. Only, I think, 114 yards passing for David Watford. A lot of dinky-dunk short stuff. Didn't really go deep. Again, it was pouring rain out there, so that's probably why. However, they have a lot of weapons. 5 of their top 6 pass catchers from 2012 are back. Wide receiver Darius Jennings, I think, is the number one option. He had a very nice game against BYU, I think 7 catches. And so Watford's going to be looking to those guys to try and really move the ball against Oregon's defense. So it remains to be seen how much they're going to challenge Ekpre-Olomu, Terrence Mitchell, Troy Hill, and really try and move the ball through the air and see if Oregon's secondary, which is very, very talented, can stand up to it. So those are the matchups I'm looking for. Ultimately, if Virginia can do all of those things, they can hang around the game for a while, and that home field energy might be enough to pull the shocker. That being said, the odds are against them with that thin defensive line and going up against a very, very good secondary for Oregon. which would force them to run the ball behind a not very good offensive line that they have. If you want to see my game prediction, you're going to have to follow me on Twitter at Takimoto23x or on Vine at Takimoto23x. And as always, tune in every day to AddictedToQuack.com for all the latest news and analysis about all things Oregon Duck sports. Have a great weekend of Week 2 football watching. It's not a great schedule, but there are some fun games out there. Notre Dame, Michigan is the big hyped one. USC gets Washington State coming to their house. They didn't look very good last week. Upset alert? I don't know. Watch out, Kiffy. So thanks for tuning in. I've been Takimoto, AddictedToQuack.com here on the YouTubes. Go Ducks. We'll catch you next time.